Despite the amount of talent at the skill positions for the USC offense, it hasn't really lived up to its billing so far. One of those players who thrived last season but had a setback this year is wide receiver JuJu Smith-Schuster. Here to help me break down his setback is Aaron Glazer. Thanks for joining me, Aaron.
Thanks for having me, Paolo.
So tell me about JuJu. What has been going on this season that he hasn't really had that much production as you would expect from a wide receiver like him?
So JuJu does have only 33 yards per game averaging throughout this year, and there were 6 games last year where he had over the 99 yards that he's averaging right now. I think that what this comes down to is simply a defensive mindset. Opposing teams know that JuJu is one of the best receivers, not only on USC, but also in the country. And so they're starting to double team him and really show some different defenses on him, which have caused him to struggle like this.
Yeah, obviously that's a big reason. He's talked about it before. He's been being double covered all over the field. But another reason why he's not been getting as many targets is because other guys have definitely been getting more targets as the season has gone along. Who's catching more balls this season?
So I would say these 3 guys, Deontay Burnett, Stephen Mitchell Jr., and Darius Rogers, have been big playmakers for USC. Now former starting quarterback Max Brown really tried to balance out the offense. And so we saw pretty even numbers of receptions and yards, especially with Mitchell and Burnett throughout the start of the year. So for Smith-Schuster, not out of the norm. It's just that I think we expect his numbers to be abnormally strong compared to the other 3.
Now, obviously, you mentioned how Max Brown is now the former quarterback. Obviously, with the news of Sam Darnold being the starting quarterback, we look at how JuJu Smith-Schuster has fared with both quarterbacks. He's had 17.2% of Brown's passing attempts and 22.7% of Darnold's pass attempts. So do you think that now with Darnold under center, JuJu can have more of a role and maybe he will rely on JuJu more, Darnold will?
I think that Darnold, as a more inexperienced quarterback, it's easier for him to rely on a veteran hand like JuJu as someone who's known to be a strong receiver as an easy target. But I do think that alongside with that, Darnold can look to JuJu as someone who is reliable, and I would expect for him to get a few more touches this week than we've seen in weeks past. Maybe look for the other guys to be a little bit more shaky and see how they play under Darnold's arm. But I feel like Darnold and JuJu, as evident by these numbers, have already established a pretty clear connection.
Well, as USC heads to Utah, the question will not only be can their offensive talent win out, but also can USC balance that talent on their way to their first Pac-12 South victory.